What would you call it when an ordinary house pet becomes involved in a life and death drama and then scopes out the situation, weighs the odds, and comes to the rescue in a very logical and unexpected way? Well, the man you're about to meet calls it a miracle. In the fall of 1996, Joel Ward was a marketing and management student at a northern Minnesota university. A few years earlier, he and his girlfriend had purchased a small dog, a Bichon Frise they thought looked like a dust mop. So they named him Dusty.
He was my buddy. He went everywhere with me. He's a lap dog, and he snuggles, and he's a really good companion.
One night in October, Joel made one of the luckiest decisions of his life. He decided to take Dusty on a road trip up north.
My dad had had a heart attack, and he was closing up the cabin, and I decided that I was going to go up and help him out because I had the next day off of school.
Be safe.
I will. Take care.
When we drive someplace, Dusty always sat in the back window. He's this real small dog, so he sits back there, and he gets a good view of everything.
Joel's trip would take him into one of the least populated areas of the country, a wooded wilderness near the Canadian border.
The Tomahawk Trail is very deserted. There's no houses back there. There's no people. It's very seldom driven at night.
But the back road would shave several hours off his driving time, so Joel took it.
It must have been about 10:30 at night. It was raining. It was very cold out. It might have even been getting that time of the year with a little bit of slush on the roads. I was driving too fast. When I came around a corner, I took the corner too wide, and I tried to counter steer, but it just kept sliding on the gravel.
Joel's car skidded off the road and rolled down an embankment into a rocky gully. The force of the impact knocked him unconscious.
I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and I woke up in the back seat on the passenger side. I was in real bad shape. I couldn't do anything because I had hurt my neck.
Dusty!
Dusty had been thrown from the vehicle unharmed.
Dusty!
It was pretty cold out, and I was starting to get a bad chill, and I had no jacket on, just a t-shirt.
The temperature was hovering around freezing. Joel would never be able to survive the night. He could barely move, and even if someone drove by, Joel's car could not be seen from the road. There was only one hope, Dusty. But what could a 10-pound dog do in the middle of the wilderness?
Dusty!
I could see him out the front window, and I yelled for him.
Come on.
And he wouldn't come down to the car.
Dusty! Dusty!
I thought I was going to die out there.
Come on.
I had a lot of difficulty breathing. Chills were setting in from hypothermia. It was a real nasty situation.
Dusty!
Joel continued to call for Dusty, but the dog refused to obey. Instead, he positioned himself on the side of the road, waiting for anyone, to drive down the remote Tomahawk Trail.
We go through that road in the daytime and usually not in the nighttime.
Why are we coming this way? We never go this way.
Mary and Jewel Foster were on their way home from a day trip.
Normally we probably would have went around the other way because it's a road where there's not a lot of traffic.
What is that, honey?
That's a dog, Mary. What's a dog like that doing out here in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night?
I don't know, but something's on
It
her
was
skin.
kind of like dancing, fluttering. He was trying to stop us. I automatically thought there was something wrong because there's no dog out in the woods, not there, because you're in the middle of nowhere.
Hey, honey, look. There's skid marks.
Yeah. There's somebody's had
They're
a
all the way
wreck.
across. They go over there.
Yeah,
They go
where
off
that
the
little
road.
dog went in down here.
An impatient Dusty led the Fosters down the ravine to his master.
Get the doors open. Here he is. He's over here.
The people came down there and asked if I was all right, and I told them no.
My neck's hurt. Please help me.
Well, we couldn't get the doors open in the car.
I'll go get you some help.
Okay.
It was crowded in, rocks and stuff like that, and there was nothing we could do. It was dangerous just trying to walk over there.
So we turned around and went back. There's no phone service on that road. so you couldn't call 911 or nothing like that.
In a town several miles away, Mary and Jewel found help and led them back to where Joel had gone off the road.
What we're going to do is we're going to have to cut you out of the car, okay?
Firemen used the jaws of life to pry open the door of the car. Joel had been saved, but Dusty wasn't aware of that yet.
And they had pried the door open, and the dog jumped in on my lap. Now, the dog was sitting on my lap guarding me, and when they tried to give me some medical attention, the dog bit him. So he was trying to protect me. The only way that they could get the dog off me was to put great big fireman gloves on and reach in and grab him. Then the ambulance took me to the hospital, and the dog had to go to jail.
Dusty wasn't booked on any charges. She was just held in custody while Joel received medical attention.
I had CAT scan done and x-rays, and I was informed that I came very, very close to breaking my neck.
Miraculously, Joe escaped serious injury, and the next day he bailed out his best friend and miniature miracle worker.
My name is Joe Ward. I'm here to pick up my dog.
He's my hero. I believe that, for one thing, it's a miracle that he didn't get killed in the accident and that I didn't. And another thing is that I kept calling and calling, and the dog would not come down, which is very unusual for this dog because he listens very well. Otherwise, I believe that the people would have drove right past. You could not see the car from the road.
Why are we coming this way? We never go this way.
There probably would have been nobody coming through there for 4 more hours. We very seldom ourselves, when it's late at night, come through there because we know if something happens, there ain't gonna be nobody to help us. Why we did that night, I don't know.
I think it's a miracle that the dog was there to really get our attention. I really do believe the dog was trying to save its master's life.
I think he was out there knowing that he needed to do something because he loves me. He's man's best friend.
Oh, it's a miracle happening to everyday people, changing their lives forever. It's a miracle.
And now, here's your host, Richard Thomas.
Hello and welcome to It's a Miracle. We're here at Hever Castle in Kent, England today for a special edition of British Miracles. The English countryside has long been associated with amazing stories and unexplained phenomena. From Stonehenge to Sherwood Forest, tales of miraculous events have been handed down from generation to generation. Well, not far from here in the Mendip Hills, a modern-day miracle recently took place with a hero every bit as memorable as Robin Hood. The town of Cheddar in western England gave the English-speaking world its most popular cheese. Just north of the town, the Broadway Caravan Park sits nestled against the wooded slopes of the Mendip Hills. Sam Moore is the maintenance supervisor at this summer resort for people who enjoy hiking and biking in the surrounding area.
It's busy here in the summertime. There's all the families and the screaming kids. In the wintertime, when there's no one about, it's very creepy. It's like a ghost town. The only sounds you'll hear when you're outside working are the birds and the occasional lorry or car that go past, and that's about it, really.
Sam's constant companion throughout the cold and lonely months of winter is his parrot, Sonny.
He's a colourful, pretty bird. I think he's brilliant. He's very good fun, nice to play with. He's like a member of the family. He's not a very vocal bird, but if it's just one-to-one and you say hello to him, he'll say hello back.
Hello.
When Sam left the park to run errands on the afternoon of February 18th, 1998, he intended to be home by dark to move Sonny inside.
If we left him out at night, he'd probably die of the very low temperatures. Wouldn't do him very good at all.
That same afternoon, Richard Stone, another local resident, arrived to inspect a piece of farmland he owned 100 meters south of the caravan park. With springtime just weeks away, it was time to check the fences surrounding his pasture land. But before he could reach the gate to his property, his van started rolling forward. Richard had forgotten to set the handbrake. Suddenly, he found himself pinned beneath the van. Attempts at rolling the vehicle off his ankle proved futile. From his position, he had no leverage. This is farm country. Homes are few and far between. No one could hear Richard's cries for help. The only dwellings within earshot were the empty trailers at the caravan park. Sam was out running errands, and the park's maintenance workers were out of range. The only one who could hear Richard's plea for help was Sonny the parrot. The night before had seen the mercury dip below freezing, and as evening approached, Richard knew that he would probably not survive a night in the open weather. Sonny, not normally a talkative bird, began repeating Richard's cries for help. The more desperate his cries became, the more agitated were Sonny's echoes.
Anybody, help! Help! On this particular day, the first thing we heard was just squawking, really.
Maintenance worker Richard Hurd was pruning a tree at the caravan park that afternoon. His workmate, Jeremy Burstow, heard the cries as well, but dismissed the parrot's screams as a plea for attention.
We thought, there it goes again. You just blank off and you don't listen to it, really.
This bird can be very annoying at times, yeah. For no reason, it can just go off on, say, a funny 5 minutes for no apparent reason.
After a while, however, they realized the bird had added a new word to his vocabulary.
The more we listened to it, the more we could hear what it was saying.
The shrill squawk that he makes was becoming a word, and it was help, and it was a very clear help.
Let's go down and check it out.
They decided that Sonny might be in serious trouble. But as soon as they reached his cage, the bird became quiet.
Hey, what's all the noise about?
The two men felt they'd been tricked.
Makes all the noise, and then when you get down here, there's nothing.
Cracker's bird.
To walk down the site deliberately to see him, and then to see the bird just sit looking at you, like, what are you guys doing here in my neck of the campsite? It's a typical thing for him to do. Very irritating.
They were about to return to work, when suddenly...
Hey, shh. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can, man. Some sound helps.
Have a look.
The voice alarmed us. It was definitely someone, not joking, someone in distress.
Help!
He looked pale, looked relieved to see people arriving. His leg was hurting him very much.
Miraculously, Richard Stone survived his ordeal with little more than a bruised pride and a swollen ankle. But if it wasn't for Sonny, it could have been much worse.
And I don't think he could have withstood it for much longer by the sound of his voice. There's every chance he may not survive the night. It was a winter night, so pretty dangerous situation to be in. Could have killed him.
I mean, he saved my life.
Yeah, I'm glad he did.
The next day, Richard was well enough to visit the caravan park with a special gift for his saving.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Sonny.
But Richard isn't the only one impressed by this remarkable bird.
I've heard of other animal and pet rescue stories, but it's the first time I've heard of a parrot saving anybody's life. I definitely think there could be a miracle here. God's hand and all that.
I'm not really an expert on miracles, but Sonny was very special that day. Considering he's so quiet ordinarily, to do what he did was out the ordinary, unbelievable really.
Sometimes it's the lesson learned that turns a rescue into a miracle. That's what happens in our next story when two hunters come upon a wild deer, out of season and out of luck. It began on a cold winter day on Kingswood Lake, New Hampshire.
I watched this deer just get up and fall so many times. And if you've ever experienced being on the ice and having your feet go out from underneath you and you hitting the ice hard, very fast, that's exactly what this deer was doing time and time again.
And then I guess we all realized that the deer wasn't going to get off the ice, because all of a sudden it just laid there. It didn't even attempt to get up. It basically gave up.
The whole time I'm thinking to myself, this is a wild animal. I mean, deer just don't go out on the ice, fall down and die. And after quite a long time, 20 to 25 minutes, we all decided this deer wasn't going to make it.
Bill tried to comfort the frightened animal the only way he knew how.
It's okay, take it easy. Take it easy. I'm thinking, I'm treating this animal like a dog, and for all I know, he's going to try and take my fingers off. And when he didn't, I realized that, this animal must trust us.
It's all right, buddy. No, you're going the wrong way.
So we started talking about different ways to get this deer off the ice.
I cautioned that we can't get near the deer's feet, because the hoofs, if it flailed out at us and happened to catch us with one of its hoofs, it could cut us.
And that's when my father suggested that he had this 2-inch nylon strap that we could use as a toe strap.
It's all right, buddy. You'll be all right.
When we first went out there, the idea of pulling this deer off the ice with this strap was a great idea.
You got a good grip on him now. There we go.
But actually pulling the deer across the ice was a lot of work. I tried doing it by myself, but we found that it just wasn't an efficient way of doing it.
This was a 2-man operation. We had to slide him over 1,000 feet. There was no way just the two of us could take the deer off and camcord ourselves at the same time.
When we went out there, our goal was to save the deer. And the parts you see that we taped were when we were taking a rest.
It's all right.
We would skate and we would hit the snow and it would get harder to drag him, and he wouldn't struggle, he wouldn't fight. It was very exciting to know that a wild animal can trust you.
Then when we finally get the animal to shore, he doesn't want to leave. He just stands there. Really amazing. Really amazing.
It was obvious he wasn't going to leave. So we made motions to try and scare him, to make sure he could move, to make sure that he wasn't hurt, that he could run off. But he was just standing there staring at us.
Go on.
That's when I decided to climb up on shore and make sure this deer was all right. And when I did, he moved fine. He jumped off into the woods.
Everybody has to have a feeling at some time in their life that they've done something that was worthwhile. And I feel what Bill and I did out there that day was absolutely, totally worthwhile.
This animal may never know that it was touched by the miracle of human compassion. But for Bill, the experience on the icy lake that day was a life-changing event.
Rescuing the deer helped me to come to the conclusion that I could not hunt again. Not that I don't believe in it, but personally, I can't do it again. Being that close to this deer, it almost makes you feel like he's your equal.
Tonight's video miracle combines modern medical technology with, well, a wild carnivorous predator. It's the true story of a bird of prey and the dentist who came to its rescue. The Nature Center in Lincoln, Nebraska is a place for families to explore the abundant wildlife of the area. Among the animals there are 2 great horned owls. Director Peggy Hunt explains.
The great horned owls came to us because they've been injured.
It's okay. Sure it is. It's okay.
We try to save these birds and put them back out in the wild.
Wait a minute. All right. Okay.
This one owl injured its upper beak. It didn't heal, and it was deteriorating.
You're getting unhappy.
And since owls do not have teeth, the only way that they can bring the food into their mouth is with their beaks. So we were afraid that this owl would die.
Oh, look at that, she said.
And we didn't want that to happen.
And so they contacted Dr. Tom Fritsch, a specialist in dental prosthetics, hoping that if he could create a fake tooth, he might be able to fashion a fake beak as well.
She has lost more. The beak was deteriorating so quickly that we were concerned with saving the owl's life.
Go ahead and get all the feathers out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and make a mold today of what's remaining of the beak.
We're going to be a good girl here. Come on.
I was holding the bird's head, and we were talking to the bird, trying to reassure it.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
And Dr. Fritsch pulls out this purple stuff that looked like purple bubble gum.
Very strange.
That's the very same impression material I use when I prepare a tooth for a crown.
You're such a good girl. Yes.
A big concern that we had was that she wasn't anesthetized, so she was awake the whole time we were working on her. And we just really weren't sure how cooperative she was going to be.
What are you doing?
But she was very calm and collected, and I believe that she understood that we were trying to help her.
It'll take 2 minutes for this stuff to set up.
The owl was so cooperative that I went ahead and made a mold of what was remaining of the beak.
Stay put. Yeah. You got to be a good patient.
This solidified, and when he pulled it off, you could see the whole outline of what was missing from the beak.
How's that?
That's perfect.
I took that to my laboratory, and I went ahead and made the beak out of a hard processed acrylic.
How we do on the color out of curiosity? Boy, that's just about hit it right on the nose. So right on the beak. Those claws are trying
We
to grab
were very uncertain about whether this would work or not.
Now these little feathers here are the ones we got to get out of the way.
We did have to cut off some of her feathers around her beak.
Does anybody here have some Vaseline? No, we don't do that.
And we were concerned that the bird wouldn't be able to breathe, but it was breathing through its mouth, and it looked like everything was just fine.
Well, I think we're just about ready.
It sounds kind of almost like a dental instrument.
Yeah. It's a beak instrument.
Oh,
We have like, what, 15 seconds with this stuff.
Wow. We got to really move, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh, my God.
When we put the beak on the bird, I was concerned about the bonding agent running down her nostril, and I don't believe she cared for that quite so much.
okay, you win.
It's okay.
That's it.
I was very surprised that this beak looks so perfect. It's like, wow, that looks like a real beak.
Looking good.
See, you're attractive, good looking. I know. Just to prove to you that she's still an owl, you can see.
The final result speaks for itself. I think the owl's real happy with her new beak, and I really think we probably ended up saving the owl's life.
Wait a minute.
From capturing the injured bird in the wild and bringing it to safety,
Oh, look at that, she said. Just a bit.
to finding the perfect solution to its problem in the hands of a dentist.
We gotta really move, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh, my God.
It's a miracle of modern technology that even the wisest owl could not have predicted.
Put that new beak on and we're getting a lot feisty, aren't we? Yes.
The owl is just fine. She is eating and enjoying life. She brings a lot of joy and understanding to the people that come to the Nature Center. It's very important that they are able to see a bird like her up close and realize that they are a part of the environment and also play an important role in our web of life.
Tonight's video miracle really needs no introduction. It speaks for itself. And what it says is this: the power of love knows no limits and no boundaries.
Miss Kitty had her kittens April 17th, and I had no idea where they were, but then I watched her, and she went across the road to my neighbor's trailer, and she had them under there.
They didn't look very healthy at all from the day we found them, and they eventually died.
At that same time, the Grants' dog Smoochie gave birth to a litter of pups. But there was a problem.
Smoochie didn't want anything to do with the puppies at all, her own. They would be lying around out at Smoochie's house out there, and she would just drag them around with a chain and pay it no attention. Even their whines didn't mean anything to her when they were hungry.
Miss Smoochie. I guess Miss Kitty, after her kittens died, she felt the need while they were whining and all to go take over them. And so we came home one evening and there were 5 puppies missing. I said, where did 5 puppies go? And I was hunting them, and then my neighbor told me that she saw Miss Kitty stealing them.
I was sitting in here eating lunch, and I heard the puppy start screaming. And it screamed and screamed, and I finally got up to go see what it was. And that's when I came to the door, and I saw Miss Kitty going across the yard with one of the little puppies in her mouth. And Miss Kitty went back and got another one and picked it up, and she kept bringing them across the yard till she had all of them over there.
I didn't believe it, but I looked up under the trailer and I heard them whining. They were up under the insulation. And then I had to cut them out.
Oh, God, she bit me. Miss Kitty, come here.
She moved the cat and puppies to a safer location and phoned local television reporter Teresa Dickey.
And it was just amazing, to see this cat, nursing these puppies. And one of the comments that Missy made to me was that maybe if we could find someone who has some kittens and show them to Miss Kitty, she'll take care of them instead of the puppies. So when we did the story, we had a little tag at the end of our story asking our viewers to please, if any of you have any stray kittens, to please call the owner of this cat.
A viewer saw it on the news, and he had found these 2 abandoned kittens. And so we met, and he brought them down here, and she took right up with them, but she wouldn't leave the puppies alone. She wasn't going to give the puppies up.
I've never seen anything like it before in my life, and I've been around animals all my life.
She loves them all. Yes, she does. She honestly thinks these puppies are hers. I was afraid that she might not have enough of milk to feed all these puppies.
And so she called her veterinarian.
We told Missy that it would probably be okay for the cat to nurse the puppies. We see cats adopting other kittens, and we see dogs adopting other puppies. Very seldom do you see one species nursing off a different species. The volume of milk, I would think, would be the most critical thing for her to have to produce for a litter of puppies versus a litter of kittens. So we did recommend to her that they had to nurse the dog also.
Miss Kitty is a perfect mother.
Do you think you're a dog or a cat? Huh?
Cats are mysterious creatures. And they'll do things, that you would never expect them to do. This cat didn't have anything to mother, and she wanted something to mother, and she took over.
And in the process, Miss Kitty revealed a side of nature that values life over differences and love over natural adversity. It's a small miracle and a lesson for us all.
Her and that puppy seem to really love each other.
Have you ever come across someone trying to give away a puppy and been reluctant to even go near it, knowing that you'll want to take it home? Well, after you see our next story, you may want to weigh that option a little more carefully. That might not be a puppy you're walking away from. It might be a miracle. Nestled among the majestic redwoods of Northern California is the quaint town of Garberville. In 1999, Nancy and Jeff Best were raising a family there while running a popular coffee shop, the Java Joint.
Our life was a little hectic at the time. We had 3 kids going to 3 different schools. My husband had taken a job in the Bay Area, which is a good 4.5-hour drive away. So during the week he'd be gone, and during this time I would have to run the shop.
Even with her active schedule, Nancy dreamed of adding another member to her family.
I've always been an animal lover. My mom used to call me Dr. Doolittle when I was little because I always had animals around me. I'm particularly fond of dogs. I've been pestering my husband about getting a yellow lab. Every time I'd see one, that would hint Christmas is coming, want a yellow lab. But he kept saying that we really shouldn't get one at this time.
I didn't want to have another dog because, you know, our lives were kind of in flux then, and we were renting that house, and we just didn't need another dog.
Is there anything else you'd like to
But
get?
a few weeks before Christmas, opportunity rang.
Nancy! Okay, thanks. I'll be right back. Thank you. Hello? I received a phone call from a friend of mine who had spotted some yellow labs. She said, Nancy, these dogs are just beautiful. You have to come down here right now. The man who is selling them is just here for a minute. He's traveling. So if you don't come now, you're going to miss your opportunity. All right, I'm coming. I'm coming right now. Thanks.
Where are you going?
I'll be right back. I'm going to go run an errand. I got in my car. I went down to the park. And as I drove up, I saw these beautiful puppies. And they were so cute. They were those darling yellow labs. They were healthy, and their tails were wagging, and they were all running around in a little bunch. And I knew that I wasn't going to leave without a puppy. Hello. And at this point, I really didn't know if I wanted a boy or a girl. But when I called her, I knew she was the one I was going to take home. Pretty girl.
So anyway, she showed up with this puppy, you know, and I was not happy about it at all. I wanted her to take it back.
Which I couldn't do because the owner of the dogs had already left, so that worked out really well.
It didn't take long for the puppy to soften Jeff's hard heart.
I mean, puppies, you know, you fall in love with a puppy almost immediately, so it worked out pretty good that way.
Nancy named the pup Mia, and she grew to become a true member of the family.
Mia is kind of like Nancy. She likes to have fun. She likes to be with people. She's just a nice dog. She's always friendly, always ready to cuddle up or to be scratched behind the ear or whatever, you know.
When Mia was about 14 months old, Nancy started to feel run down, and her dog's behavior began to change.
So with my life so hectic at the time, I was feeling tired. I was just getting worn out. I was physically tired. And I knew that if I didn't start taking a rest during the day, that I couldn't continue. When I would lay on the couch, Mia would usually lay next to me, and it would be pretty uneventful. But for this particular time, when I was starting to feel really tired, Mia would come up and lay her nose on my chest and started sniffing. Go. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe she was smelling some kind of foods from the Java Joint that I might have still had on my shirt. This proceeded again. She came back to me a couple days later, did the same sniffing and licking in the same spot. Come on, stop. Come on. I was so tired and I was so bothered by the fact that she was doing this that I actually got mad and I put her outside.
And she kept her outside the next day as well. But eventually, Mia snuck back into the house.
My daughter had come home from school, and after she opened the door, Mia came barreling into the house and dove into my chest, into the area that she had been sniffing and licking. I started to rub it with my hand because it did cause a great deal of pain. At that instant is when I felt the lump.
And up here is the lump where you're feeling. Unfortunately, it does have the little specks of calcium that make us real suspicious.
Nancy's physician was Dr. Mark Phelps.
It was not a speck. Despite having had a mammogram before that was negative, indeed there was a lump of tissue there that was new. and different from the previous exams, and we rarely ever see.
Dr. Phelps recommended further testing to determine whether the lump was malignant.
It may be that is an early cancer.
It was very scary. I never thought that I would get cancer. I always thought everybody else got cancer. I lived a pretty healthy lifestyle, and it was a shock.
It looks confined just to that area. The diagnosis was, unfortunately, a new breast cancer called a ductal cancer. It's the one that can be extremely dangerous, that spreads quickly, and the timing is critical. Gotten early, these are the cancers you can cure, and just a little too late, and they spread.
Yeah. Well, that's what we thought. When the doctor called with the results, the first thing that I thought was I was going to lose everything that I loved, my family, my children. I wouldn't get to see them grow. Other than the fact that you think you're going to die, you have to think about the things that you haven't done yet, and you know that tomorrow is not promised to anyone. And I had that feeling in an instant.
Nancy was immediately scheduled for a partial mastectomy and the removal of nearby lymph nodes where the cancer might have spread.
My fear was of any suffering that Nancy was going to have to endure. I gave her a kiss and good luck. I was just trying to keep her positive. But, there's always that thought in the back of your mind. I mean, you can't help but think that, possibly your wife's going to die.
As Jeff waited, the surgeons removed 26 lymph nodes from below Nancy's arm.
All of the lymph nodes were negative for any spread. The cancer was confined just to this small area. She was able to remove the cancer and preserve her breast and go through the treatment then with a very high likelihood of complete cure.
If this cancer hadn't been detected at this time, my doctor feels that it could have got a lot worse. He said the chance of it spreading was increased, and had Mia not discovered it at that time, my chances for survival would have been greatly reduced.
The fact that a dog was able to do it is just remarkable. I've heard little bits and hints. You hear them from cancer specialists now and again, because they'll hear the stories. But I never thought I would ever see a case of that. Who would ever think?
I think the miracle here was that Mia was determined to let Nancy know that there was something going on there that wasn't right. And she kept after it until Nancy realized it.
To show Mia how much they appreciate the miracle she gave them, Nancy and Jeff reward her each morning with a special treat.
My husband makes breakfast for the kids in the morning, and Mia waits anxiously every morning for her pancake. She's just thrilled to be spoiled like that. She's the little princess of the house now.
And Jeff realizes how close he came to not allowing her to be part of their family.
I thought about the fact that I never wanted the dog to begin with, and what an amazing thing it was that, the way we got her. She kind of snuck down there and bought this dog behind my back, and then it turns out to be the savior dog, so it was a tremendous thing.
For Mia to find this cancer, and just 5 months after I had a negative breast exam, it's a miracle. It's nothing less than a miracle to me. How many sticks? Okay. If Mia could understand words, I would tell her thank you. Thank you for alerting me to something that could have taken my life. Something that could have taken me away from my children, my husband, the things I love the most. I would tell her that she is my miracle, and there is a reason that I have her, and that I love her.
Wallace and Ann Colito live on the outskirts of North Attleboro, Massachusetts. They are, and have always been, fond of animals.
I've been married 51 years, and I don't think I've been a week without a cat. Cats, I don't mind cats at all.
One day, while sitting on their porch, the Colitos saw a stray kitten walking past the edge of their yard.
This was a kitten that wasn't much more than, I'd say, 3 or 4 months old.
A couple of days later, they saw it again.
What is that thing
But
out
this
on the
time,
street there?
it wasn't alone.
And who was with him but a crow? It can't be. A crow and a kitten? No, no. I said, my God, a crow? A crow and a kitten, it's impossible. And I said, my wife, there's a cat and a crow running down the road. We figured maybe the crow was chasing it, but they were side by side, not one behind each other, just side by side. I said, they must be friends.
Worried that the kitten would starve, Anne put out some food for it. But the next time she saw it, she realized her worries had been for naught.
The cat was laying down, and the crow was picking things up out of the grass to feed him. He looked like he has a worm or something. And actually, he was feeding the cat.
Oh, my God, he's taking care of the kitten. We were shocked because the crow, they're supposed to eat anything that's got fur on it. And all of a sudden, he was feeding the kitten and caring for the kitten and bringing it to the water and doing all sorts of things that a crow shouldn't do.
I know birds and cats are not friends. I don't care what kind of a cat or what kind of a bird it is. You just don't see things like that.
Anne immediately called her veterinarian to ask for advice and spoke with the office manager, Jane Dash.
Animal Clinic, can I help you?
It's Mrs. Colito.
Hi, Mrs. Colito, how are you?
I have
She said there was a stray kitten that was in the yard, and she mentioned about a bird kept coming, a bird kept coming.
It's a big crow following him all over the yard, feeding him.
She said it's feeding the kitten, you know, and it's protecting the kitten. The bird is protecting the kitten, is that what you're saying? I didn't believe it, but the customer's always right, so I just went along with it. Okay, okay.
Jane relayed Anne's story to veterinary Dr. Kafur Maiman.
I don't think it was possible. That was my belief, that I have not heard, not seen, never a crow feeding the cat, never.
A big bird.
Dr. Maiman called Anne back to hear her story firsthand.
I said, Mrs. Colito, you know, if you think what you are telling is correct, you got to document it because nobody will believe in these days and time.
The Colitos took the good doctor's advice, and for the next 8 months, they videotaped the amazing relationship between these two natural-born enemies. What they recorded was the daily routine of a bird looking after and caring for a motherless kitten.
It's amazing. You have to sit there and you're dumbfounded when you see it. There's no question about it. You're just dumbfounded.
Look, he's going to give it to the people drinking.
He kept that cat alive, we don't know how long. So we surmised that the crow saved the cat.
Eventually, Anne decided to see what would happen if she gave the kitten cat food instead of its regular diet of worms and bugs.
The crow and the cat went out there both together eating the food. But the crow, he'd grab a mouthful and step back a couple inches and he'd gobble his up, you know. But then the cat would keep on eating. The crow would come in and grab another piece and take off. But he always made sure that the cat would eat his share.
He won't get out of the road, will he, honey?
They also discovered that the crow was very protective of the kitten.
When they start crossing the road, the crow would holler, "Don't go in the road, you're going to get hurt." Sometimes he'd get in front of it and kind of push her back to the sidewalk. He was protecting her, see? And because they were so friendly.
And it's their unlikely friendship that comes across most vividly in the tapes. For hours each day, they would tease, torment, and play with each other.
Yep. Yes, it is.
When Dr. Maiman and Jane Dash were finally shown the tapes, they couldn't believe what they were seeing.
The bird was acting like the kitten's mother, you know, picking things off the grass and then putting it in the mouth. And the kitten, of course, play. Everything's play. I've never seen it before in the 13 years I've been working here, never heard of it before. The only theory I would say is that they were both young and they did not know any better. It's the mother instinct in the crow.
As the months passed, Anne gained the confidence of the cat she'd named Cassie, and it would spend nights in the house. But every morning, the bird would be there, waiting.
The bird trusted me because she looked right in at me and she would crow and crow until I let Cassie out. She was fine when I let Cassie out.
We opened the door, and the crow and the cat walked down the stairs together, took off together, and played together again. It had to be, what do you call a cat and a bird? Love, friendship, or what, you know?
Best friends. Best friends.
Perhaps there's a lesson we can all learn from this incredible relationship.
If you're able to gain trust in someone or something or each other, then anything is possible. The crow gained confidence playing mother to this kitten, and the kitten trusted the crow, which was the only mother figure in the kitten's world.
It's a miracle because he knew that the kitten needed help, and he was there.
If it wasn't for the crow feeding that cat and taking care of that cat would have been dead a long time ago. Even the vet says if it wasn't for the crow, this cat wouldn't be here. We could learn a lot. It said be friendly with your neighbors, not even your neighbors, the people you know and don't know. Be friendly with them. Because if a crow can take care of a kitten, it shows that two strangers meeting can get along with each other. No question about it.
Shirley the elephant was a veteran circus performer, traveling from town to town and entertaining the crowds night after night. But life in the center ring was far from glamorous. Animal advocate Carol Buckley explains.
When you look at the simple needs of an elephant, they need room to roam, access to live vegetation, real food. If you look at elephants that travel, are they experiencing that? Let's take a day in the life of a traveling elephant and start in the morning. The elephant has to load into a trailer or a transport container. The animal is traveling either hours or days at a time. They're chained in one place. To me, the fact that elephants are chained at any time is neglectful, really borders on abusive.
The abuse begins the moment they're captured in the wild. It is especially hard on the most profitable and vulnerable catch of all, baby elephants.
There's a great injustice done to baby elephants that are separated from their mother, from their family. They would be continually being pampered and touched and talked to, reassured and taught. And that's what baby elephants didn't get when they came into captivity.
In the mid-1970s, Shirley was joined under the big top by a recently captured baby elephant named Jenny. The terrified creature was drawn to Shirley's kind soul, but they became more than just friends. They forged a loving mother-daughter relationship.
Their relationship is very strong. It's amazing how loving and caring they are for each other.
And the bond continued to grow until suddenly and without warning, Shirley's baby was taken away. It was another crushing blow in a life filled with torture and despair. Jenny was sold to a breeding facility where she was severely crippled by a bull elephant, making her useless to her new owner. So she was sold again to a small traveling circus where her health deteriorated. Meanwhile, Shirley's life in the circus had also come to a bad end when she was attacked by another female elephant.
She attacked Shirley from behind and kept slamming her from behind, and Shirley couldn't get away because she was chained, and she actually broke her leg right where the chain was. Shirley went to the winter quarters to recover, and she didn't recover well enough that she could perform again. So the circus then donated Shirley to the zoo.
It was the first good thing that had happened in Shirley's life. And the best part was that it led her into the loving care of zookeeper Solomon James.
Love.
first encounter with Shirley the elephant, it was something else. It's all like you meet a girl and you don't know her, but you try to get yourself acquainted with this girl by doing some friendly things. I would see her, I would pass by her, I would work with her. I would say, Shirley, you doing all right? And Shirley would respond. She would turn around and hold out her trunk, and I would pat on her trunk, and it was just great. Hey, this is my friend. And sometimes she'll rub you on your face with the trunk to make sure this is the one, you know. Elephants never forget you once they get to know you.
For the next 23 years, Solomon and Shirley were inseparable. Assistant Zoo Director Gary Hicks was especially impressed by their relationship.
Solomon was very close to Shirley.
All right, then.
Solomon and she had kind of a special bond between each other.
But zoo officials knew that 52-year-old Shirley missed the company of other elephants.
Shirley was a lone elephant, and most elephants are very sociable animals. So we tried to make a decision on could we place her somewhere else. We came across the elephant sanctuary and a lady by the name of Carol Buckley.
I got a phone call one morning, and it was a curator from a zoo.
We have an elephant named Shirley. We're trying to find a great home for her, and we heard of you on the internet. I felt after the first 5 minutes that she had a genuine concern for elephants. So I felt from her standpoint that Shirley would be in the best possible place.
Great girl.
I think you got a buddy there. They were very receptive to Shirley coming. I came out and spent the day there, and of course I was enchanted by Shirley because she's just amazing.
The hardest part would be breaking the news to Solomon that Shirley was leaving.
Remember in the meeting the other week, we talked about trying to find a home for Shirley?
Yeah, I remember y'all talking about it. I guess I wanted her to stay. It'd be nice if she would just stay, you know, and we continue our bond. But then I looked at the second part and say, well, it would be nice if she did move to something better. This is my friend, and would I want her to have something better? Okay, Shirley girl, time to go. I came into work knowing that this was going to happen. I saw Shirley, looked like she was ready. And I asked myself the question, am I ready?
For the first time in 23 years, Solomon would have to put his dear friend in chains.
I was there coaching her all the way. Come on, Shirley, nothing's going to happen. We're going to take you to a new place where you're going to meet other elephants, and I'll be with you. And then she would move, and before you know it, she's in the trailer. I wanted to follow Shirley all the way to Tennessee because I wanted to be sure that everything was all right. I wanted to be sure that she knows that I'm still here and I'm with you all the way.
You can do it. Good girl. Good girl, Shirley.
I stood into the enclosure where she was going to come out at.
Good girl. Come on back. Come on back. Good girl.
And finally, Shirley began to back
Good
up.
girl. Come on back.
You wouldn't believe it. It was like a big fanfare. People was there, cameras, reporters. They had a great big basket full of food. I mean, the best looking hay that you ever want to see. Baskets full of goodies. It was like Shirley's birthday party.
In a wonderfully symbolic moment, Solomon took off the last chains Shirley would ever wear. It was a moment Solomon would never forget.
I felt so moved about it. I said, now I done set my friend free. She's free now. She can go out and roam, do what she want to do. I looked out across that sanctuary, and I said, Shirley, this is yours now. This is all yours. The chain is gone. I told her, let me just keep this chain, just to remind me that I was the last one to unchain her, and I was the one that set her free.
Shirley's first day at the sanctuary was going well, but her adventures were far from over. That night, another elephant entered the barn and began acting strangely.
Came into the barn from the far end, so she was 3 stalls away, started like pacing the stall and reaching out and being very anxious and sort of agitated, and her focus was completely on Shirley.
Carol decided to move the 2 elephants closer together, but continued to separate them by a railing.
She would like get down and reach, like she wanted Shirley in the stall with her. And she kept going back and forth and back and forth. And Shirley was very calm, and she was standing with her body parallel along the corral, and she was allowing to be touched. And she was just sort of marginally interested.
And then suddenly, something magical happened.
It was like a light went on in Shirley's eye. Shirley stopped, and she kind of turned her head a little funny, and her eyes got real big, and then she went, trumpet, trumpet, trumpet. And then with that, Shirley starts to bellow. She just started screaming this long, sort of primal yell. And it just vibrated the barn. It was so intense. It was on the verge of frightening.
For the next few moments, Carol held her breath. Was she about to witness an attack, or was something else going on? The answer was nothing short of miraculous.
In a perfect world, we always want elephants to meet in a big space. This isn't going to happen here. These 2 girls are going to have to meet inside because they won't go away from each other. We opened the gate. Here they were, these 2 crippled ladies. They just glided towards each other and just sort of melted into each other. And then, side by side, touching, all the time touching some part of their body. And what we felt was, obviously, this isn't a new relationship that is developing. This is an old relationship. These elephants did know each other. Now I want to know, how did they know each other?
Over the next few days, Carol went to work unearthing both elephants' histories. To her amazement, she discovered that they had performed in the same circus together 23 years earlier. Even more astonishing was the identity of this other elephant. It was Shirley's long-lost friend, baby Jenny.
Yes, 23 years in between, but I know darn well that Jenny knew Shirley when she walked in the barn. She recognized Shirley. Maybe she looked the same to her, but I think it goes deeper than that. I think Jenny knew this was Shirley because Shirley had such a powerful impact on her when she was a baby.
Today, Mother Shirley and her surrogate daughter Jenny spend every moment, day and night, at each other's side.
Jenny and Shirley's relationship today is almost identical to when they finally were allowed in together. They are constant companions. Jenny is obviously the baby. Shirley is a very nurturing mother influence on Jenny. But Shirley and Jenny have a special connection, and it's a joy to know that they get to have this for the rest of their lives, that they are never ever going to be separated again.
Shirley now met a new friend here, a friend that she knew, someone that was once close to her. Now here they united. She's living like an elephant should live. I miss her. She probably missed me, but I have the joy of knowing that she is happy. That makes me feel good.